So hi everyone, thanks for tuning in and welcome back to this special episode of the Gamesforum online webinar series. My name is John Speakman from Gamesforum. And on today's episode, we're going to be discussing how should gaming apps be thinking about in-app bidding. It feels like we've had this conversation for several years now, but absolutely we're really on the cusp, and as we're going to discuss today, adoption rates are going through the roof. So it's a really exciting time in our monetization. So it's great to welcome three first-time guests to the series. It's Alex from Supersonic Studios, Chandresh from InMobi, and Roxanne from ironSource. And don't forget, viewers, that you can get involved and join the conversation with fellow attendees using the chat box to the right of the screen. Cool. So as ever, let's start with some introductions. So starting at the top of my screen, Alex, if you want to share a little bit of info about yourself and your role at Supersonic.
Yeah, sure. So hi everyone. So I'm working at Supersonic as a growth manager, and before that I worked for a few other publishers, mobile publishers. What I do in Supersonic is basically I'm managing a few titles. Part of them are Bridge Race, Move People, Emoji Puzzle, and I have a few more. And basically, I'm managing the UA strategy and all the monetization part. And we close the full cycle of monetization and UA.
Cool. That must. Just thinking of a number of games, kind of Supersonic publishing each and every month. That must be.
So we publish around. It depends. We publish around 3 games, sometimes small, and we have few top charts games, for a lot of time.
Hypercash is such an exciting space.
Right.
Chandresh, if you want to tell the viewers a little bit about yourself and your role at InMobi.
Absolutely. Hey everyone, my name is Chandresh and I head the customer success team for InMobi Europe and Turkey. I also handle the platform partnerships for InMobi and get to interact with the wonderful folks like ironSource. Me and my team deal with tier 1 gaming and non-gaming developers, and we help them succeed using InMobi's suite of services. I've been in the app space for 8 years now, and every year seems like a paradigm shift. And this is what makes it an awesome industry to be a part of.
Definitely. Cool. And Roxanne?
Hi, I'm Roxanne Cohen. I lead the product marketing efforts for ironSource mobile team, meaning both the supply and demand side. My job is really to help our clients and partners to make the most of the products and offerings that we have in order to help game businesses and app businesses grow and thrive in the app economy.
Excellent. Cool. So we've got the perfect range of perspectives today, I think. So great. I mean, I think the best place to start, and apologies to viewers who this is a very obvious question, but it's absolutely, I think, the perfect place to kind of set the conversation is, Chandresh, before we really dive deeper into the topic, what do we mean when we say waterfalls in in-app bidding? What exactly are we describing here?
I'm sure this has been vastly spoken across the industry, and we have the mediation experts with us too. But let me add an ad exchange perspective here. A waterfall setup is where traffic flows down sequentially in a predetermined manner to various monetization partners, mostly based on historical CPMs and fill rates. And the orders solely determined by historical data. And this means there are chances that publishers are missing out on higher CPMs. If another partner has bumped up their game and they have to wait for the system to identify the highest CPMs and move up the order. This also means creating multiple placements at multiple price points. And also some developers have a tiering system for countries to ensure tier 2 and tier 3 countries don't get priced out, meaning more placements in the waterfall. In-app bidding, as we all know, is a concept taken straight out of the desktop world to ensure neutrality from the giants. This is where partners like us simultaneously get exposed to the entirety of the users and the traffic. It is on us to determine which request is of highest value and ensure that we bid the highest to win each of these impressions. There's no predetermined flows, and this ensures developers get the best price every time for every single impression. This method also means that we create one single placement for each of the formats, and partners like Alex from Supersonic gets a lot of time back to focus on game development.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. I mean, and obviously we're going to be talking about some of the implications, yeah, and how to kind of run successful bidding services in your game. So, and you kind of alluded to it there, but Roxanne, I wanted to kind of ask you actually, because as Chandresh mentioned, this has been around in the kind of browser side for many years now. Probably at least kind of 5-6 years. Why is there been a slightly, I don't want to say like a slower trend, but what have the trends been in terms of adoptions amongst games publishers, and what are we seeing at the moment?
Well, we may have started off a little bit slowly, but that was really due to technology and catching up with the idea of header bidding. At this point in time, there's no slowness. Okay. Just at ironSource on our mediation platform, we've seen about 99.1% adoption of bidding. And, on a good day, it could be 100%. But I don't see slowdown. I only see an increase. And it's been incremental, it's true. But at this point in time, we have many, many more networks also opening up for in-app bidding. At ironSource, we've got more than 10 right now and a few more coming up in the next couple of months. So we'll see only an increase.
And do you think that, without wanting to say that it had, like you said, it's been a slightly slower trend than across browsers. Is that because, networks making themselves more available, more open to bidding and that's what's really driven that change, or is it something else?
It's been the technology that held things up, but at this point, there's nothing holding us back anymore, especially with some of the larger networks going to bidding only, et cetera. Any network that really wants to remain competitive is moving towards bidding, either as an option for partners or as the only option for partners.
Okay. And from a publisher side, even though kind of uptake has been near universal now, do you still see any hesitancy? And if so, what is kind of the driving motivators for people sticking with the waterfall setup? Roxanne, do you want to take that one?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking to Alex. Sorry, back up and repeat it, please.
So I was just saying, so, whilst take up of bidding has been, it's the vast majority now, what are the kind of motivating factors that for some publishers, they're not ready to kind of dive right in yet and are kind of continuing with waterfall setups?
Honestly, I can't speak for each and every partner and understand why a publisher wouldn't want to work with in-app bidding. But for the more hesitant, A/B testing is the way to go. And I think that, at ironSource, we allow all of our partners from the moment that they download the SDK to start in-app bidding. And if it's not exactly the right decision, maybe because it's not something that they're familiar with, A/B testing is the way to go with a quick A/B testing tool, something like that ironSource has, of course. We allow our partners to just create a copy of a waterfall and just decide one will be with in-app bidders and the others will be completely based on traditional instances. And in, I'd say, almost every single case, our publishers move very quickly over to in-app bidding, even in a hybrid sense, meaning keeping bidding networks as well as more traditional network instances to find the absolute best combination to create an increase in ARPDAU.
Okay, excellent. So, Alex, I'm really kind of keen to get a publisher's a viewpoint here. For you, Supersonic obviously kind of worked exclusively in terms of bidding. What have been, from your experience kind of across your whole entire career, what have been like the major advantages? What benefits does bidding give you as a growth manager with Supersonic?
So in Supersonic, we're working on a hybrid model. We combine between bidding and traditional waterfall. From our point of view, we prefer to work within a bidding because of the benefits. And for example, we have a much more more operational work is saved because of the bidding. We have much more time to focus on other stuff. For example, in my position, so we manage the UA and the monetization, so I have like more time to focus on UA because of it. Also, there are like a lot of A/B tests that we can run, and we can be sure that like we run an A/B test before when we decide like if to move to bidding or not, and we see the better performance, and like most of the time bidding won. And also like there is like any stuff that like basically it's like a fair competition that we work with all our partners, and it's less scary if we have like a huge partner or not, because everyone get a fair option like to bid on each request, and then they decide like according to the data that they have, the data science and everything, if to bid or not, and which is CPM price to put. So like at least from the publisher side, it's like a win-win for everyone. And this is the reason why we're always pushing like to bidding.
What kind of, as you mentioned, it outperforms waterfall setups. In terms of kind of ARPDAU, what kind of increase did you see, or have you seen, when you've run those kind of A/B tests?
So basically, it depends in the bidder, because like each bidder perform differently, but I'm talking of around, it's between like 2% to 10%, like in average.
And that's across the portfolio?
Yeah, it's across the portfolio, and I'm talking like increase to the ARPU. And if we're talking about like a huge amount of daily active users, so we're talking about a lot of money.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so beyond, you kind of slightly alluded to this, obviously it's given you more time in terms of working on the user acquisition side of growth. What are the kind of other major advantages in terms of the value of the automation part of bidding?
So because there are like, first, there are no human errors, sometimes there are like technical issues because the setup is not set like it should be. And here we just like set it once, we see that everything works and that's it. We don't need like to follow too much. And because like a lot of operational work is saved, so we can focus like on our other job and other tasks that we do. More advantages is like if I see like also the advertiser perspective. So basically everyone compete on the same level, and the competition is fair between everyone. And it's important also for us as a publisher, because always like the small networks asking us to put them in a higher place in the waterfall, at least before that. And we just saying them like, we can work with the bidder, and then you will be like in the same level with everyone, and like you can decide which bid to put on each request. And because of it, like we always push like to bidding with all our monetization partners.
Okay. Chandresh, Roxanne, I mean, obviously you're not publishers, but you obviously work very extensively with folks out there. What do you say to them? How have you kind of helped them really maximize the potential of using bidding?
Chandresh, do you want to take this?
Sure. So in terms of approaching it from an advertiser's point of view, this is a game changer for advertisers. Everyone has equal footing. Imagine even a small family-owned business who are just starting out. They have the same chances as equal to a large established brand. InMobi being a predominantly brand-heavy exchange, we work with all scale of advertisers who are loving the fact that they can access premium gaming traffic immediately and not wait for the mediation to learn and eventually allocate the traffic. And when it comes to gaming, brands love rewarded video and they're willing to pay premium CPMs. So InMobi has been working on improving our full screen experience as well. We also have, like Alex mentioned, we have periodic campaigns like Ramadan, where we kind of reach out to publishers and ask them to, why don't you put us on first call or second call or third call? That has been completely taken out, because when the periodic campaign kicks in, if we are paying the right price, we have equal footing, and if you're paying the right price, we get first call. So we don't have to reach out to publishers and ask them to create a new placement, for example, in Indonesia for a specific time period. If you're paying the right price, you get the right traffic. And also the fact that the shift of mobile DSPs, shift from second price auction to first price auction because of bidding is a huge shift in the industry. That's a game changer as well, because we ensure top dollar again for each impression. And also the fact that mediation partners on bidding give us loss notification. So these loss notifications are communicated to each of the bidders, and they know exactly what they lost out to. So this is intelligence in the next level, which was not available in the waterfall method. Now they can see exactly what they lost out on and improve their biddings to make sure that they start winning most of the impressions.
And obviously you can then feed that info back to advertisers, encourage them to, to up their bidding, up their prices.
Absolutely. Yeah. So mediation sends the loss notification, we send it to the bidders, and they know exactly what they lost out on.
So Alex, kind of, for how should app developers be thinking about in-app bidding? What do they need to be keeping in mind as they switch from waterfalls to a bidding model?
So basically in Supersonic, we're working on a hybrid model, like I mentioned before. Like we have the bidders and also the traditional waterfall. So like, if you're asking me, I think that this is the model until like all the networks will release a bidder. Also, like the publishers like need to keep in mind that not all the bidders supported by all mediation platforms. So it's also something that they need to think about. And basically, they can start right away, just A/B test, like if you are adding a new bidder, so you can A/B test the performance of the same bidder, like the same network compared to the traditional waterfall, to give it like around 10 days to run an A/B test and then check the ARPDAU and see the difference and if it helped or not, and if the performance is better or not. At the end, in-app bidding is the future, and everyone are going to use it. So if not now, so probably in a few months or a year, something like that, everyone will be moved to in-app bidding. And like, if I'm thinking about now, so the model that everyone should work on is the hybrid model, like of traditional waterfall and in-app bidding.
Okay. So you mentioned obviously kind of starting with A/B testing. You mentioned obviously ARPDAU. Others, what metrics should publishers be looking at, and how should they be running these A/B tests? Are you looking at kind of 7-30 days in terms of ARPDAU, or what? Sorry, go on.
We're using the mediation of ironSource, and we run like a quick A/B test that checks like the bidding versus the regular, like the traditional setup, let's say like that. Then we check the ARPDAU, and like we give it around 10 days, 2 weeks, it depends. And then we check the uplift of the ARPDAU of each placement. We check the performance of the RV, banners, if it's relevant, and interstitial. And also we filter like specific countries. We check the performance of US, because US is like the main market that we focus on, and also worldwide or any other specific countries, because sometimes there are bidders that are working only on specific countries.
Right.
And basically that's it. Like we have a lot of tools in the mediation platform that give us the ability to take like a right decision according to data, of course. And after that, we just we do a test on a few apps, and then we release it to the whole portfolio of Supersonic.
Okay. I suppose that point is really needs to be kind of be emphasized. Making sure you kind of know which networks are supported and which mediation, and making sure you kind of keep that in mind, because obviously, especially when running a hybrid model.
Yeah, for sure. Like you need to know which networks support. Like if it's like, by the way, there are networks that support both options, like also a traditional waterfall and like regular instances, and from the other end, also they have a bidder. So for sure, like if you want to test like a new bidder, you need to see that this network is supported.
Okay, cool. Sorry, it's Chandresh.
Sorry, John, I have a question for Alex.
Yeah.
Alex, so in terms of a developer point of view, it's been really important to monetize, tier 2 and tier 3 traffic. There are a lot of competition out there for your tier 1 market like NA and the European market. So how do you think the monetization has changed for tier 2 and tier 3 market, especially, the APAC region? So how do you think bidding has changed? Has it increased the fill rates and CPMs and competition for tier 2 and tier 3 market?
So first, from our side, like when we buy users, we buy it everywhere. Although US is like the biggest market, but we focus like on all countries according to the profitability. And we also buy like a lot of users on tier 2, tier 3, and even more than that. And one of the benefits of the bidder is that you need to set it only once, and it can work worldwide. Like you don't need, like as you said, if you have a specific campaign in a specific country for some period, so you need to change the position of the waterfall and everything, and the instances in the waterfall. So with the bidding, you don't need to do it. Like all the partners get a fair chance to compete on each request, and then according to the campaigns that each network has, so you can decide if to bid or not, and which CPM to give. So for sure, we see like improvement, and because of the improvement in the monetization side, so we can buy more users on the UA side because it's a cycle at the end. So yeah, for sure, we see like improvement.
Awesome.
Okay. Alex, you mentioned obviously before about, and as a growth manager, your day-to-day bidding's allowed you to focus much more on UA, and so that's crucial and for all mobile games companies. But if you were kind of just to look at it purely from a monetization management perspective, how would that kind of change the day-to-day operational role of an admin manager who's running bidding now?
So basically, like a lot of operational work is saved because of it, and in general, like the optimization is more on the network side, like according to their data science, their algorithms, and less on the publisher side, because like we just sending the request, and then according to the data that each network has, it decide which bid to give. So in general, it simplifies our job. And because like in Supersonic, we're also managing UA, so it gives us like much more time to focus on UA. But even like for other positions like that they work like only as a monetization manager, so they have like more time to explore more partners, to run more A/B tests, to analyze more reports, and according to that, to focus also on the in-game KPIs and not only like the ads monetization. And like the biggest benefit is like for sure is the operational work.
I think that's really quite a crucial point, because you mentioned obviously there's switching to the bidding model. When you run your tests, you saw a kind of 2 to 10% uplift in ARPDAU, but it's actually in a way the freedom to kind of explore new placements. How whether you can run more frequent placements is actually that can actually have just as much of an uplift in terms of revenue for monetization managers, right?
Yeah, exactly. So like I can speak about Supersonic. So in Supersonic, we have like a different roles of UA and ads monetization, and there is like another position of monetization manager that is basically they are managing like the in-game monetization, like say like that, like when the interstitial logic, like when to launch an ad, in which position, in which level, if to add more RV placements or not, and when. But for sure, like if there is a company that there is like a monetization manager that is doing both sides, so yeah, he has like a much more time to focus on the in-game KPIs and to run all those tests.
And Chandresh, you made the point earlier about how it's a great equalizer for advertisers. You don't have to be a huge brand organization now to run these types of campaigns. Likewise for publishers, it's great because for smaller games publishers, they are able to they don't need that kind of huge amount of resource that previously might be needed to run successful growth operations.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, even from a exchange point of view, so we don't have to create so many placements. We've seen publishers where we've created 15 to 20 price points on each of the formats. Right now is just one single placement ID for each format, and we set it live. And from an advertiser point of view, they find which is the most valuable user. And if they think it's valuable for them, they find the user and bid on it. And it's purely made it absolutely simple from an entire monetization point of view.
Okay. Roxanne, I want to kind of, for people watching who maybe aren't running in-app bidding yet, what should they be thinking about? How do they kind of get started?
Well, first of all, you need to look for a mediation partner that makes it easy for you to get started. Starting with bidding from the very first day that you work with the partner is a great idea, but of course, not everybody's ready for that, and a lot of people are cautious, and that's quite okay. A/B testing is what you need to do, one network at a time, to make sure that that network is great as a bidder as it is as a traditional instance. And most of the time, you'll see that that particular network is going to work even better as a bidder against all of your traffic. The increased competition is going to increase CPMs and ARPDAU in the end. So we want to go slowly and cautiously, but at the same time with a lot of gusto and with a lot of enthusiasm for the fact that we already know the end result is going to be you're going to move to bidding.
Okay, so that's quite interesting. Steady and cautious, but at the same time with a lot of gusto. I'm going to have to ask you to kind of explain that a little bit more.
Sure, yeah. Well, you want to be enthusiastic about the fact that, well, I already know the end, but you don't know. So right. It's fine to take your time. But I think that even after 2, 3, 4 days, 7 days, you can see results, and you know that it's going to be difficult to wait until the 10th or 14th day to end your A/B test, your bidding A/B test, and just make the switch for one network at a time. I do think it's the right move to go network by network rather than jumping in all at once if you have a set and very finely tuned waterfall. If right. You're just starting out, there's no reason not to turn on all the bidders that you can all at once and see what happens. Again, if you have a waterfall that's been working before and you are managing it every single day very carefully and cautiously, then caution is the way to go, but you will get there in the end. Okay.
And likewise, Alex kind of mentioned some of the key metrics that he looks for when he's running his A/B tests. You very much on the same page, or is there any kind of additional KPIs that you might look for when someone who's looking at adopting bidding or implementing bidding might be interested in or want to run?
I think the increase in CPM and ARPDAU is really going to be what's moving the needle and making the decision based on, are you going with A or are you going with B? Are you going to move to in-app bidding? And 9 times out of 10, the answer is going to be yes.
It's a fairly convincing argument, isn't it, when a 2 to 10% increase in revenue turns up?
Or more.
Indeed. Cool. So I kind of wanted to get just, from, before we kind of wrap up here, just a few kind of final thoughts from each of you, just in terms of the kind of potential of bidding and what you would say to someone who might be slightly kind of on the fence, maybe kind of hesitant to give up what they think is a successful waterfall. What would your final thoughts be in terms of how publishers should think about in-app bidding at the moment? Chandresh, I'll let you go first on this one.
Yeah, sure, John. I think bidding is going to be an eventuality. You will be, I foresee it becoming 80% of the complete mobile monetization industry by end of 2022. With a few outliers still on waterfall because it's been so well optimized, or it might be a technological challenge. But apart from that, I don't see any challenges for publishers to move to completely bidding. And I think it's going to take over the market. It's going to be the new trend. It's going to become as mature as the desktop world pretty soon.
Cool. Roxanne, your thoughts?
I think we're in sync here. Probably everyone will agree that the market is moving towards in-app bidding, not exclusively, but everybody, every publisher will be bidding in some format, whether it's with all of the available bidders or not. It's definitely the trend that we've seen.
Okay. And Alex, as one of the people, so to speak, what final advice would you give to your peers out there?
My recommendation is first, like always, A/B test. Take your, just check the data, and according to the data, decide. And for sure, like run A/B test, analyze the data, and then just move to bidding if it works well for you. But at the end, it does. So for sure, run A/B test and then move.
I love that. If it works for you, but it will work for you.
Yeah. Well, like most of the time, again, not always, and it's not 100% of the time, but still you need to take in mind all the operational work that is saved. And at least like in Supersonic, we are always pushing to bidding, and we always care to increase the share of voice of the bidding because of it, and to focus more on our other tasks.
Yeah, of course. And I think that's a really great point to finish on. There's definite dual advantages to kind of in-app bidding. Excellent. So yeah, I mean, we've absolutely smashed through all the topics that we wanted to cover today. Really appreciate Alex, Chandresh, Roxanne, all your time and helping our audience of games publishers who maybe aren't already running in-app bidding to what they need to be thinking about. Viewers, thank you very much. It's always a privilege for you to have you joining us today. Thanks very much, everyone, and see you next week. Have a great day.
Bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.